when I came to do the process, I did it 25 years ago, and I felt like I'd hit a kind of a glass ceiling, and I wasn't really going anywhere past that. My life was okay, you know, it was functional, but there was the feeling I wasn't sort of really living the fullness of me. And the process really helped break me out of a certain limiting set of beliefs and behaviors that that just helped me to become more me. I often say to people, if they ask me what did it give you, I'll say self-acceptance, you know, and that's that ability to accept myself, not only if I'm, you know, obviously it's easy to accept yourself when things are going really well, but for me, because I often projected a lot of everything's okay on the outside, but it was, can I accept myself when I feel maybe a bit more scared or insecure or dependent, or you know, and once I got that place where I could just settle into those places in me, and it just gave me a much more solid place from where I could really operate in my life. The process is a fairly challenging job, you know, it's I wouldn't have even done this work if it wasn't for the process, because I really had to go, you know, face a lot of my fears, face, for example, fear of confrontation. That was something that I'd often really feared. I had a lot more, I'd use humor or charm to kind of get
avoid
things.
Honesty.
Yes. But the process really helped me to, you know, to be able to go into challenging or confronting or, you know, not being liked around people, and still feel more okay with that. And but also gave me a lot more compassion. I know what that feels like, and I believe people trust therapists or facilitators more if they feel like
they
get offended. You've been there yourself, you know, rather than someone just, you know, preaching the word. Over the years, I've seen, you know, we've had nuns and priests come to the process, you know, CEOs of big companies, hippies, young kids, street kids, you know, plus you're just your general, you know, person in the suburbs doing their work, and I think that's one of the amazing things I see about the process, is that it seems to have an almost universal appeal and significance for people. It seems to be able to meet people where they are, and create change, and in my experience it seems to be change that really is ongoing and lasting for people. The process is first very experiential. You know, I think Bob Hoffman recognized who developed this process, that you couldn't change people through just changing your thoughts alone. You know, we can't go to a mirror and say, you know, I am confident, I am confident, I am confident, and then walk into a room and necessarily feel that way, because what he recognizes is that the roots of these patterns is actually much more emotionally based. I see people, they come in with a structure, and often we defend that structure. We go, you know, I've just got to keep it intact. I've often had that feeling in arguments with a partner, or, for example, you're defending something you know is really unhealthy, but I'm just going to defend it anyway, because that's what I've always done. People come in, they're obviously a little bit at first quite scared, you know, a bit defensive, but very quickly people start to feel there's a trust in the room and a safety, and often that's a safety people didn't really have when they were growing up, you know, and in their environments they grew up in. And once they feel that safety and that trust, they start to perhaps allow themselves to question or relax. There's also tools there that if you use them, and they're great tools, you can actually really grow. It's not a quick fix. We say it takes a couple of years to integrate. That was definitely my experience. I had, you know, a couple of months after the process, still some pretty challenging times. It is challenging for people sometimes to move out of such a, as I talked about, a very safe and what we call a holding environment. And so we have, even after the process, we recognize that need for a transition back into your world. So rather than just let people out and say goodbye and never see them again, even the day after, we have a re-meeting of the group for a couple of hours, what we call a tools tutorial, where people have just had that experience of going out with this new me, and still like a a crab that's shed its shell. It's all a little bit raw and tender, and then they can come back and we just give them a level of support. So there's an ongoing, people aren't just left, but they have the feeling that I'm still being held in my journey as I go out into the world.